There is an octopus in a lab tank. A crab appears, but only in a mirror. The octopus turns 180 degrees and moves precisely to where the crab actually is. Not where it appears, where it is. It understood reflection. It modeled space from a two-dimensional image. No spine. No vertebrae. No centralized brain as neuroscience has defined it. Every AI system deployed today was built on an assumption about what cognition requires. What if intelligence already exists in a form we can't recognize? The movie Arrival called that science fiction. It isn't anymore. In 2024, researchers at Dartmouth trained California two-spot octopuses to locate hidden prey using only mirror information. The setup was precise. A crab placed on one side of a tank, a mirror mounted so the reflection appeared on the other. The octopus had to understand that the image it was seeing was not the target. The target was behind it. It succeeded in 73% of trials, a success rate that matches or exceeds most human children on equivalent spatial reasoning tasks, not a comparable invertebrate, human children. This had been documented in exactly one category of animal before this study: vertebrates. Great apes, elephants, dolphins, corvids. Every single one shares a common ancestor with you that the octopus does not. This isn't a party trick. This is spatial reasoning, and a deep-sea invertebrate just passed the test. Here is the architecture that produced it. The octopus has approximately 500 million neurons, roughly the same as a dog, but 60% of those neurons are not in its brain. They are distributed across its 8 arms. Each arm contains its own neural clusters. Each arm processes sensory information and makes decisions independently. The central brain sets a goal. The arms solve it, alone. Under microscopy, a cross-section of a single octopus arm looks almost identical to a diagram of an artificial neural network. Nodes, connections, distributed processing. The biology got there 500 million years earlier. Every vertebrate intelligence ever studied concentrates cognition in a centralized structure. The octopus arm contains roughly the same number of neurons as an entire honeybee brain, and it thinks without permission. If engineers had discovered this nervous system before the human brain, AI might look completely different today. But here is what makes this genuinely disturbing. The octopus didn't inherit any of this from us. Its lineage separated from ours before the first dinosaur existed. Everything you just saw, the mirror navigation, the distributed processing, the arms that think alone, evolution built all of it completely independently, from a starting point with no neurons at all. Which means the question isn't whether the octopus is impressive. The question is what it means that intelligence got here twice, and what that changes about everything we thought we understood. The last common ancestor of an octopus and a human was a flatworm-like organism that lived between 500 and 750 million years ago. No brain, no neurons, no advantage. From that single point, 2 lineages separated completely. One became vertebrates, fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, you. The other became cephalopods, mollusks, nautiloids, the octopus. The 2 branches never shared a neuron. Wings evolved twice, in birds, in bats, in insects. Eyes evolved independently at least 40 times. We assumed intelligence would be different, that it required shared ancestry, that it couldn't simply emerge again somewhere else. Apparently, evolution disagreed. There is one more detail. A severed octopus arm continues to function after separation from the central body. The neural tissue keeps processing. It responds to stimuli. It reaches. It recoils from heat. It navigates obstacles. For up to an hour after detachment, it continues solving the problems it was built to solve. No brain, no central direction, nothing. There is no single location in an octopus where intelligence lives. It is distributed across 9 semi-autonomous processing units cooperating without a controller. Intelligence without a center. Not a lesser version of what we have. A different thing entirely. That's the most disturbing thing biology found. It isn't the most disturbing thing this changes. At this point, this sounds like a story about octopuses. It isn't. The octopus was never the discovery. The discovery is this. We began building intelligence before we understood what intelligence was, before we knew how many forms it could take, before we had looked closely enough to realize we were working from an incomplete sample, which raises a specific question. If the test we built for machine intelligence can only detect one kind, how would we know if we'd already created or missed another? Somewhere right now, an AI is deciding whether a scan contains cancer. Somewhere else, another is deciding whether a car should brake. Another is determining whether someone qualifies for a loan. Every one of those systems inherited the same assumption about what intelligence looks like and where it lives. Name one that doesn't model cognition on the vertebrate brain, on the premise that understanding converges, that information arrives, gets processed, produces a decision from a center. You can't. Not because the alternative doesn't exist in theory, because every system deployed at scale was built from one template, derived from one lineage, one of at least two solutions that evolution produced independently. One template, one lineage. That is all we used. We built a test for machine intelligence. The Turing test. It asks whether a machine can imitate human conversation convincingly enough that you cannot tell the difference. The octopus doesn't pass it. It doesn't need to. Its intelligence is real, documented, peer-reviewed, and completely invisible to the only instrument we built. Every rule we've written for artificial intelligence begins with the same assumption. If something is intelligent, we'll recognize it. Every governance framework, every legal definition of sentience, every safety protocol, all of it written inside a definition of intelligence that was never complete, not as a choice, as a default, because no one had looked closely enough at what was sitting in the deep sea. The octopus didn't expose a flaw in biology, it exposed one in us. Evolution ran the experiment twice. We only studied one result. You built a test for intelligence that only recognizes itself. Then, you used it to build the future.